Um, damn it! I gotta get this right. Shut the fuck up.
Welcome to the Bunkroom Chats podcast. I am Elena, also known as Betty.
Tim.
Also known as Tim.
Still Tim.
And today we're going to be talking about depression.
It's depressing.
It is depressing. But we can still laugh about it. We can laugh about anything.
No, it's really not funny.
We can laugh at anything.
It's not meant to be funny.
It's not meant to be.
A lot of first responders are plagued with undiagnosed depression.
Yes.
It just, it manifests, I guess, it manifests itself in other ways. So, like, self-medicating with substance, like alcohol, more commonly alcohol in our field. Because we can't do anything else.
Yeah. But I think also in one of the previous episodes, you talked about like thrill-seeking behavior being a symptom
That's just
of
like
depression.
A marker for if you're taking one of those survey tests to find out your level of depression and what have you.
But that's something that we already do.
What do you mean?
Like we already have that built into our jobs. We already have the, doing the dangerous stuff already kind of built in.
Oh, so our job is a thrill-seeking behavior.
Yeah, so it might be difficult sometimes to.
It all depends. I mean, I didn't get into this career because I was seeking thrill. It's just I'm a second-generation firefighter. I grew up in a firehouse. It's all I really know. I got hired right out of high school, essentially, like I was 20. So I didn't have much college under my belt. So if I don't have this, I don't know. I don't really have any other marketable skills.
I want to work on that. No. But I mean, a lot of people have.
That's depressing.
No, but I guess kind of what I'm saying is that it might be harder to distinguish what is a symptom of depression and what is you're just going about your day doing your job, because especially in this field, like you're already sleep deprived, you're already, so a lot of the things that you might have trouble sleeping because of the job already, and that's also a side effect or a symptom of depression.
So that's what I wanted to try and find here. I saw when I was looking at some stuff for this episode, I saw a very clear breakdown of 5 categories into how it manifests. And again, I will apologize for my voice off the gate. The whatever bug has torn through my house, and I'm getting over it. But we fight on.
So hopefully it doesn't hit me next. I will be so mad at you if it does.
No, that's why I canceled on Tuesday, because it was still quite prominent here. Everybody is good to go back to school. I can return to work. I've already returned to work. But getting back on topic.
Yes. Depression.
As you just strayed into, what was it you were talking about? Something that we weren't anywhere close to yet.
No, I jumped ahead. I jumped too far ahead.
Depression can manifest itself in our lives outside of work, or at work, for that matter. I always found it showed its ugly head here at home, and I think I was generally more pleasant at work.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. That's a great question. Probably because I'm there for a purpose and a sense, and I have a job to do. And if I get called to service, I'm not going to treat somebody else like crap.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Manifests itself through substance abuse, we talked about already. That was my big thing. I would self-medicate with alcohol. Um, some people see it manifest in their sleep, disturbances in their sleep, circadian rhythm.
You might sleep too much. You might sleep too little.
Yeah. Anger, frustration, agitation, easily annoyed, easily frustrated, easily sent over the edge by dumb little things can often be a good marker of depression. Sex drive, that's a big one. And then, stress, grief, and loss are just mentioned as potential contributors because we deal with it on the job, we deal with it off the job. We have our own families, we have our own lives, and we have our own losses. So not only are we every third day me every third day for 24 hours dealing with everybody else's losses and bad days, and we're not immune to them.
Yeah.
So it's very important out of the gate, I think, on an episode like this, to mention the importance of checking in on yourself and checking in on each other, especially your shift mates on the job. Because if there's one place that we need to be on our A game, it's on the job.
Yeah.
We can't be on another planet when we're either helping somebody in an emergency situation or entering an IDLH environment.
But at the same time, I think, yes, it's important to check on people and obviously checking on yourself. But I think a lot of times, too, it's like when a celebrity, when something happens to a celebrity with depression, everybody's like, oh, well, they seem so happy. And you hear that about a lot of people, too. Oh, they were always laughing. They were always smiling. They seem so happy. I'm so surprised.
Well, that was me.
Yeah.
I mean, I never would have guessed the level of depression I had until I took that silly little survey I mean, it was just incredible. And I can actually post that. I still have a link for it. I can post it on the description. I can do that. And if you want to take a depression survey, it's called the Beck's. I don't remember the name of it, but I'll link it in the description below. And you have to answer. It's only like 30 questions, 20 to 30 questions. I believe, if I remember correctly, without looking at it right now, it asks you questions that range from today to the past 2 weeks. And have you felt such and such? And you have to answer it honestly, even though you're probably giving yourself a bad mark, because it is numbers based, and at the end your number reveals your level of depression. And I was all the way in the fucking basement.
Yeah.
It was eye-opening and jarring, because like you were just saying, I always felt like I carried myself with comedy and humor, and I've always tried to be upbeat and everybody's friend. And like, even right now, like I know I'm depressed because I know that I'm doing things currently to help with it, because it was starting to creep back in. But here I sit and I feel quite happy. It doesn't, that's what I'm saying, it was getting at the beginning. It doesn't make itself so readily in your face, hey, you're depressed.
And it's different for everybody. I mean, not everyone is, if you have depression, not everyone is going to be sad all the time. It's not like you're just moping around constantly. Some people are. Some people can't get out of bed. Other people, you live your life, you just have that feeling of hopelessness and despair and sadness, and and you just kind of cope with it. But everybody's different. How everybody deals with it is different. No two people with depression are going to present the exact same way,
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to check in on even people who seem okay, because a lot of times it's the people who seem okay that are the most not okay.
You can generally tell if somebody's struggling like deeply. They get the well, like we were just talking about, all those warning flags or red markers. Um, and then sometimes they'll just be sitting there with the 1,000-yard stare,
Yeah.
or they've just got a bunch going on in their head, whether it be racing thoughts or intrusive thoughts or what
Or just
have
that
you.
empty feeling of not even thinking anything. That happens to me when I'm depressed too.
The stigma of mental health in the fire service or the police or dispatch, hospitals, as it all starts to lift and things are getting better, it's even more important now for us to be checking in, because we're seeing quite an uptick of, I don't want to call them preventable suicide, because I don't know how, this is tricky,
Yeah.
but it's important to discuss, because it's got to be a part of the episode.
Yeah.
Well, most issues, whether it be anxiety, ADHD, really depresses you, or it affects you
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way that is not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
There's concussions. We know more about CTE and stuff. All of these things that we're just, we need to be more aware of each other and not be afraid to ask and sit and talk if need be, because you don't know how much you might be helping somebody.
Yeah. And I've noticed a lot, like you see so many news stories now about really young kids who, commit suicide, or, really young kids who have severe depression, who are medicated for depression at, 10, 12 years old. And that's why I think it's really important to talk to, even talk to kids about it, because, and a lot of that is bullying. A lot of that is their environment,
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a kid in this in this generation.
In
like
this
that would
day and
yeah,
age.
that would be very difficult. Social media and all that, but it's just that it's very, very important to even so much as, like, if you're a parent who has depression, like that's something I plan on talking to my child about, because when he's old enough, because I know there's also a genetic component, and I know that mental illness is heavy on my side of the family, so that's a very important discussion that I'm going to have with him when he's old enough to just say, at some point this might be something that you feel, and there's nothing wrong with that, and we'll, you know, work on it and help you, and but I think it's important to not shy away from it, and to
I've been talking strictly around our jobs and stuff and checking in on each other there, but again, the importance of transitioning back to home mode as well. Is we've talked a little bit briefly on medication.
medication.
We'll touch on coping a little bit later, but medication is not the only answer to depression, or managing depression. I take antidepressants because they seem to work for me. Talked with the Preers, and if you remember, TJ was talking, like, they really zombied him out, and he didn't like who he was turning into on
Medication.
or whatever medicines they had him on. He said he was on quite a gamut at one point. Before we get into more on managing, it's also something to point out, like we were discussing prior to starting, that there is different types of depression. We're not experts by any sense of the amount. We just live with this shit.
Yeah, we both happen to have it. Yeah.
Yes, diagnosed depressed people. So that by no means makes me a psychologist, a therapist, or an expert on depression and every single branch of the depression tree, because it does branch off. Like, there's depression, there's
major depressive disorder.
Yeah, there's all different kinds of depressive disorders. Like we said, the DSM is getting humongous. But we're just talking straight depression, clinical, run of the mill, not so exciting depression.
Yeah.
Now, what would if you had to characterize or categorize yours? Do you feel it more in times like after an event or something, or is it just always looming? Or would you say, like I said, I felt like I had it a bit worse at home than at work because my mind was purpose driven at work.
I think that mine is always, it's always been there. Like I've always been able to feel it, no matter, even when things are great, I still feel that. Um, but I think obviously when there's work is extra stressful, there's more traumatic things happening in life, that can kind of spiral you. I think at work sometimes it can be easier to detach yourself from that depression because you, like you said, you have a purpose. Like you're there to do something. There's less time to think about it. There's less time to get in your own head. You literally have to just buckle down and do your job, and I think that kind of blocks it out a little bit. That kind of forces you to be present, and to an extent, to be present. And so I think sometimes, depending on how bad it is, I think sometimes being at work is actually helpful.
Yeah. I mean, it does. There is a little sense to the uh, y- keeping busy
Mm-hmm.
and keeping active. Uh, or, you know, how if we suffer a loss, like the day after my dad passed away, I was at work
Mm.
because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
I like I wasn't a danger. My head was in the game. I just knew I needed to be around the boys
Yeah.
and doing what I loved to do, and what he loved to do.
Yeah.
So I felt completely comfortable going to work. I didn't tell anybody,
Mm.
but the it just you want to keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
I think there is something to that.
I think you know that interview with Jim Carrey where he said that depression is like deep rest.
It's like what?
Deep rest.
Deep
Instead
rest?
of like it's kind of like a play on depression, but it should be deep rest because your body
Yeah.
needs that rest.
You go into a lull.
Mm-hmm. And I do kind of appreciate that perspective of it, where you kind of need to slow down. Your body saying, and your mind is saying, okay, slow down a little bit. But I think for me, I'm the kind of person where I cannot slow down. If I slow down, mine gets worse. If I take that time, which is probably healthy to do, it definitely gets worse. Like I need to be busy. I
Yeah.
need to be doing stuff. I need to be constantly moving.
And that'll come back up again when we talk about how to cope or manage your depression. Noted as well that there's a difference between grief. We touched on grief earlier, grief and loss. Grief being a short-term
Mm-hmm.
depressing time. Obviously, like I'm not defining anything crazy here. But depression is long lasting and doesn't go away without proper care. It needs to be nurtured.
Yeah. And I think like grief can lead to depression.
Sure.
Like you can. I think that more short term state can
Or
obviously,
prolonged grief disorder or whatever
Mhm.
the hell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Can turn into more like permanent depression. Yeah.
if you're finding like you're just having an extraordinarily hard time getting over the death of a loved one, that's probably not depression in the sense of the disorder. It's probably more like the prolonged grief and loss. We
Mhm.
talked about significant loss. It's a hard hitting life event,
Mhm.
and it's supposed to take some time
Yeah.
to process and understand and grieve. But yeah, otherwise it can.
Yeah. I think the way that I've always kind of looked at depression is that no matter how it's depression because no matter how good your life is or how bad your life is, it's still there. That's kind of how I've always looked at it, because even when things are going great for me, it's still there. I still have depression. I still, struggle with it. And then when things are bad, it's just compounded. It's just that much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what that's the struggle with trauma and PTSD, is that it takes, if you already have depression or anxiety or anything like that, and then you go through trauma and you're struggling with PTSD as well, it hits depression really hard. And that kind of like builds on, each thing builds on itself, and you're kind of in a bad spot.
Yeah. To what you were saying about when you feel it, uh, just out of curiosity, when you do feel it, and like what you were saying, do you recognize it immediately now that you know that it's a thing? Like, because I still have trouble, is what I was getting at.
I think sometimes I can, and sometimes I have to kind of remind myself, or my therapist reminds me.
My wife reminds me.
Like, well, this is depression.
Isn't that so fucking weird?
Yeah.
Like I don't even, and I think I talked about it on an episode previously. Like, I just don't realize, because it is something that is ever changing, and you do need to manage it. There's no clear cut like path.
Yeah.
Even if you're on the medication route, like I take it, SSRIs. I think I said NSAIDs earlier, like an idiot. SSRIs are depression medicine. They need to be changed. Like the dosages and stuff need to be played with, because you will build a tolerance. And I'll say, before I forget, when we do get to the medicine and stuff, remind me to talk about a psychiatrist.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll edit this out.
That's this, that having to kind of be reminded of that stuff is the same with anything. Like, when I'm in therapy, oftentimes, like, I know the signs of PTSD, I know the signs of depression, I know the signs of anxiety, like, I know all those things, but recognizing it in myself, that's the struggle. So that's where oftentimes, that's where my therapist will come in and be like, well, this is your PTSD, this is your depression.
Hey, idiot.
This is
you know why
happening.
you come here all the time?
Yeah, there's a reason you're here.
That's
paying
what's
me all this
happening.
money. Yeah.
So I'm literally super stoked about. I just had my second therapy session yesterday.
That's awesome.
I've already got homework. I got to do some
journaling.
Yeah, kind of. And
I'm so bad with my therapy
it's
homework.
Pointed journalism, though. Like, there's topics that, like, check-in topics and stuff. Just light work on the on the first day of school. But
homework every single session, and this is not like complicated
they're
stuff.
Supposed to.
But yeah, and it's not difficult. It's like, write a sentence. I think the last thing she said was write just a few sentences every night about what you're feeling. And I don't know why, but I just cannot get myself to do it. I never do my therapy homework. Yeah. I'm just bad at it.
That's because you don't care. No, you're depressed.
Well,
it's a part of depression. Like, we just procrastinate. I'm sorry, that sounds so fucking gross. That was a big one for me, because I also have ADHD, which, if you can't tell by watching, if you ever watch this podcast and don't listen to it, you'll quite clearly see that I cannot sit still. I'm always touching things, but that's just the hyperactive part. But like the attention deficit stuff, I learned a lot about, and I think that a lot of my drinking was more so to correct that behavior than I was correcting any depression or anxiety, like a light bulb moment in rehab, because I didn't understand, and we'll have to do an episode on it, because a lot of our generation has ADHD. Thanks, folks. But it's actually quite devastating, and I just thought it was like, hey, you can't sit still, and you're bad at reading without having to read the page 3 times, and shit like that. I didn't realize the level of shit it causes you internally, like in your brain, and how that contributes to depression.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all intermingled and it's crazy. And if you want to read up on ADHD, I highly suggest it, especially if you have it, because it's another thing that could be doing some damage to yourself without you even realizing it.
And it's also never too late to get a diagnosis or to pursue a diagnosis that that you suspect you might have, whether it's depression, ADHD, anxiety, OCD, whatever it is. If you're thinking, you know what, I feel like I have some of the signs of this, there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with going to get checked out. There's nothing wrong with,
Now I'm trying to sit still.
I'm moving constantly. I'm like,
Uh,
um,
I'm going to be aware of it now.
yeah.
Uh, Go ahead.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with trying to get that figured out and trying to get that figured out if you think that there's something going on that, that you haven't been diagnosed with yet.
Yeah. And I don't know if we put a bow on the grief versus depression, but the big key takeaway is if you're seeing signs in yourself, and maybe you need the help of your spouse or loved one or friend, or if you are in therapy, your therapist, uh, because we just sat here and told you that the two of us are usually blind to it.
Yeah.
When it's coming to a head, when it's showing itself again. But you should be able to notice some big things like weight loss. Your
Appetite changes.
Your appetite is awful. Your sex drive is down. I think everybody would notice if they're not wanting to have as much sex.
Mm-hmm.
Your sleep could be affected, like we said.
Night terrors. It's not just not being able to sleep or sleeping too much. It's also disturbances in your sleep. So, night terrors, sleep paralysis, nightmares. Yeah.
The irritability and anger is usually a huge, I think that pops up more than, or if not as much as substance abuse, or just drinking. We'll call it drinking. People can use other substances, but
I think that's what tips me off more than anything else.
What?
That I'm just irritable. Like my patience is just gone.
I don't even pick up on it because it's so weird. I don't know. My wife will tell me, don't you? Or she doesn't say it in so many words, but like, what's up your ass? Or, she says it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Essentially, hey, what the hell? And I'll take a minute to reflect, usually after I double down on my anger like an idiot, because I'm a stubborn ass mule and I love my wife and I am sorry. But I do, I get pissed off, I guess, that it's brought up, like, because it is one of those things, again, that I can't seem to fix or get under control.
Yeah.
Like, I was very upset that I had no control over my drinking. That is just, when you come to terms with something that is so inanimate and arbitrary, but has such a grip on you, that you don't have control over your own damn body, or brain, it's like a reckoning.
Yeah.
But managing depression is a sport in and of itself. And I think we could start to talk a little bit about that if you don't have anything else to add.
That's fine.
About depression. And I feel like we're forgetting shit. And we'll probably wind up talking about this again because it is so important.
Depression is a huge,
But this is like just a light touch on it podcast without talking about a little depression.
Yeah.
This is the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the biggest things that a lot of people deal with. And I think it's being diagnosed a lot more. I don't have like statistics on that or anything, but I feel like there's a lot of people who have depression.
Absolutely.
First responders and otherwise.
I wouldn't actually be surprised if you know how they're putting it in so many different types of classifications as of right now. If it doesn't just eventually evolve into a spectrum thing like autism.
Yeah.
Not like autism, but a spectrum of depression. Like everybody is in some way depressed. Yeah. It's just a matter of where you fall. because I find it hard to believe that there isn't, so I guess it is plausible. I'll just
I've
edit
met
that
people where I literally will ask, like, do you not feel like this? Like, are you happy all the time?
It's unfathomable because we live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was diagnosed with depression when I was 16. So literally over half my life, I've been dealing with it. So, it just surprises me that there's people who do not have it. But I want to see really quick the percentage of first responders who have.
Yeah, we should do that.
About 30% of first responders have depression, some form of depression, whether mild, severe, whatever the case may
38?
be.
30.
30%.
I would have thought that would have been way higher. So
Well,
there's diagnosed or
that's diagnosed.
known cases.
Because
Like,
think of how many people are going to actually say they have depression.
yeah, how many
on a
people had
survey.
COVID but didn't go
Yeah.
get tested? And yeah,
Yeah, I think maybe that number is a little bit skewed. I
I
would
probably
be,
have COVID right now.
Oh, don't say that. I would be surprised if that number was not significantly higher.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, we haven't even really mentioned the toll that the job takes. It's all well and good, and we are here for a purpose. And it is okay to say that we can do this job. It's not okay to say that you are completely fine. But it is okay to feel a sense that you can handle this job.
Yeah.
Because we can handle this job. We are trained, and we are in these situations frequently. And we can handle and process if it's done properly. Now that I know that, it's a lot easier on your brain in the long haul. That being said, now as mental health in the fire service, like we'll just talk fire for now. Mental health is becoming much more popular. I think it's all because I went to rehab, to be honest with you, because anytime I do anything cool,
everybody has to follow.
Yeah.
You start your trendsetter.
I mean, I started the Maryland crab thing.
What Maryland crab thing?
The crab with the flag in it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I totally did.
Okay.
Anyway, being talked about, because that's what I set out to want to see happen. I just didn't think it would be that easy. But
well, we still have a long way to go, but yes. Yeah.
I wish I could have had more of an impact. I mean,
yeah.
But no, the fact that it's trending that way is great, because now we don't have any real excuse to not say that was fucked.
Yeah.
You just ran a call. I know you probably don't want to talk about it, but you just ran a call that affected you, and you said,
yeah,
this was fucked.
Yeah.
And did you take the time off? No.
No.
Did you talk to anybody, like
I
peer
did,
support or anything?
Yes. So they did.
You did?
Yes. Yes.
I have my own thoughts on this. So.
What's called CISM, which is Crisis Incident Stress Management.
I'm aware.
They talked to us.
It's peer support for those that aren't.
Well, we had a peer support person, and then they brought in the CISM person.
Oh.
I kind of preferred the peer support person, because in that sense, like, I already knew him, so it was kind of, it was a bit more comfortable talking about it in that respect. And I did have people, both from CISM and that peer support person did check in on me, which was really nice. And the medic I ran the call with was also, we talked about it back and forth after the call happened. And so yeah, I mean, I did end up going. I stayed the rest of the shift, and then
do you feel like that was wise? Because you're essentially leaving yourself in the environment.
Correct.
That just did harm to you.
Even
though it is an environment that you love.
Yes.
And you cherish. And I totally understand, because I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
None of us, that's where we fall down. And I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I don't think there's anything wrong with me saying there's a lot of things that my department is not very good at. In this case, they did offer me the opportunity to go home. I chose not to just because I felt I would be safer in my own mind still at work, because I would have ruminated too much at home. I would have sat and thought about it too much.
But on
And
the other side of the coin, don't you walk around the firehouse the rest of the day just scared of the bells going off
I
and
will.
running
So
a back to back? Because that happens too.
that
Like
does happen, and
when
I
it
was
rains, it fucking
terrified.
pours.
Yeah, yeah. So that definitely was a thing, and I know for the first few hours I was much more confident in my decision than after that. After that, I started. We ran another call that was relatively high priority, and I was kind of not in the best mental space.
Well, so you're gonna admit that.
Yeah,
A lot of people wouldn't.
Yeah, like I was not doing very well, and
If given the opportunity over again to go home, would you?
yes,
And there is nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
It's actually a healthier decision
yeah,
for your body, for yourself, for your mind to help start processing and to make sure you're not messing up the next call.
yeah,
If you're not 100% in, like we said at the top of the show, if you're not 100% ready to help mitigate somebody's emergency or walk into an IDLH environment, you probably shouldn't be there, right?
yeah.
Um,
And the thing is, like, we're human, and even though we see fucked up stuff all the time, there are some calls that are just gonna be way worse than others. Like this one was way worse than anyone I've ever seen before, and it's
and
just different. It hits you different. It and
yeah,
that's
and I don't care who you are on this job. You can tell me all day long that this call in particular that you might have just run, if you walk out of that call and say that you're okay, you're just fucking lying.
yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
You're just lying. You're lying
There's
to
no way.
yourself. You're lying to your shift. You're lying to everybody. Now, there's still going to be the old school guys, and I was one of them for a long time. I have 18 years on now. So I came up in the world of you check that shit at the door.
Yeah.
And this is all starting to, in the past 5 years, be a thing that you should say, hey, we need some help over here.
Yeah.
Because so it's just an interesting transition from that, because you're still going to see those guys that you used to stand next to and say, yeah, we don't need this motherfucking shit. Get out of here. And while I'm thinking about it, still, my thought process on SISM and peer support and stuff is, I mean, it's great that they offer it. I don't particularly think it gets utilized correctly, because of course they want to shove it down your throat right when the thing happens,
Yeah.
and nobody's ready to talk right when they get backing orders or, if something is so fresh, it doesn't even have to be a firefighting thing. If it's just something at home that is significant, you're not ready to sit down and talk about it right away. It's like, give me a fucking minute.
That's
to breathe.
exactly what I thought when, as soon as the call. Well, I mean, I had just gotten back in the ambulance, and the lieutenant said SISM is on their way, and
Thanks,
I was like,
but
"That's wow, thank you, yeah, that's
they have
really
to.
soon. They do have to."
It's
but
in the book.
Yeah, they called us in. We went back out of service. I was still just very much in kind of the grips of it. It had just happened, and then they called us in, and we had our discussion with SISM, and I thought that exact thing. I was like, this is too soon. Like I don't know how to process.
I don't
this
even know what
yet.
just happened.
Yeah, like I don't know how to process this yet. This just happened. And then it was later in the day that I was more fucked up.
Yeah.
Than when it had just happened. So I would say, like, at least give like some hours between.
Yeah, you gotta have
happens.
a cool down period.
Yeah.
And you gotta go home.
Yeah.
And my thing with peer support or SISM teams, and how they're one of the biggest miscues, I think, that we don't utilize them properly, is to, yes, they do some follow-ups, but we're talking like a week down the road. Hey, you still doing okay? Cool. No, 10 months, a year down the road, you need to be checking on these folks again, because there is something to be said. You'll remember that day forever,
Yeah.
and you'll know the anniversary date, and it'll all well up again because it's you need to check on these folks again on the anniversaries. You need to check on them after they have a moment to process a little bit on their own. Everybody's going to do some level of brief processing. Like, I just saw something fucked, and what are we going to do about it? And I'm good. Let's just go back to work. That for so long was the mindset.
Yeah.
And now I think I don't see any reason why I wouldn't go home now. just to go home, if nothing else. Like, I can be with my family, and my little girl. And
yeah. I think for me, it just like, it was just
free day off.
I know, I just felt like I would just sit there and relive it over and over and over
and
again.
you probably would have, but
Yeah.
that's processing
Yeah.
to an extent. Now, you can't just sit there and relive it, and we'll get into this in the next episode, because this is going to run into 2 episodes. We'll talk in the second episode about managing depression, and we'll touch on processing these calls from what little bit I do know from my time at the center. Again, not an expert. There's all kinds of disclaimers all over this, so don't be listening to us for anything other than entertainment and just some
support.
Some support. There are some facts that we're pulling off the internet. But we're not experts in this stuff and never claim to be. Bottom line is, these things need to be revisited more frequently, or more than they are. It doesn't have to be every day. Hey, man, you still good after that call?
Yeah.
All right, dude, and we get it.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's something to be said on the anniversaries, especially of something like TJ Prayer went through, where he was involved on a rapid intervention dispatch to save a fallen firefighter who did perish. We still, it's been 4 or 5 years now, and we still celebrate him on his anniversary, his death anniversary. So, it's going through all the guys on that call's head. Just like the rest of the department was affected by it. But those guys in particular that went in and tried to get him out of there and things like this, I'm glad. It sounds like he found some peace.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll try and get into next is knowing what's going to be the right path for you and the different the different avenues that are available. And I mean, you don't have to be on medicine. Like, some people are completely turned off by medicine, and that's fine. If you don't want to take meds, you don't have to. There are a lot of other options available. It shouldn't deter you from going to get yourself checked on or looked at to see if this is something that affects your life. Because if you're a first responder, like this podcast is set out for, all are welcome. But you very, very likely could be harboring something, because with any kind of significant time on the job comes you accrue. You think you're fine, and you might be fine. Some of this stuff might not really affect you, and you know what? More power to you. But I guarantee you, it is. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
And it accrues over time.
It's a cumulative effect.
So those guys that have 25, 30 years on that are the old timers that would never say they had an issue. That's not something they're ever going to admit. And that's fine. I mean, we're going to have growing pains as this transition takes place to lift that stigma.
Yeah.
these people have taken in a lot and never talked about it. And so there, when I first got back from rehab, I was very gung ho on spreading the good word, like, telling people what happened to me, doing this and doing that. And the union approached me and a couple others that we've been through to do some sort of peer support before we had anything established. And wouldn't you know that when we opened it up and sent out the emails and the social media blasts and, hey, this is happening at the Union Hall every Tuesday, if you want to come on out, talk to us. It was kind of a little bit of a union established peer support meeting prior to the establishment of our DFRS one that's in place now, because before that we just had like a CISM team. Anyway, wouldn't you, people, of all the people that showed up to these meetings, a high number of them were retirees. And that comes from a significant loss of retiring for something they've been doing every 3 days. A third of their life for 30 years is gone. And then on top of that, they're finally dealing with all the shit that they suppressed for so many years. Yeah. So I guarantee that it will eventually catch up, because we don't always have to feel like super emotionally affected by something horrible. But what we don't realize is that we could be personally internalizing it into something that has already happened in our own lives, or we're fearful of ever happening to one of our own, one of our kids, one of our loved ones, and that's a huge part of it, is that that eats away that thought that you personally internalize some of this stuff without realizing it. All right. I think we'll wrap this one up, and we'll cover part 2 on managing this shit.
So that'll be next week.
Yeah. And
question, comment, concern, you'd want to be a guest. We are always looking for guests. Feel free to shoot us an email at bunkroomchatspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube.
All the links are in the episode description below. I will link in that depression inventory where you fall on the thing. Answer it honestly. That's all I ask. And
see you next week.
I guess that's it. Bye.